All right, let's go ahead and let's tackle the topic of versus more than. This is a topic that is basically all about how we say something, and it changes the percent. So for example, we can say the same thing in two different ways. So let's look at this fact. Miss Sorensen loves cats so much that she started a toy cat collection. She started with 5 toy cats and she now has 15 toy cats. All right, so here are two different ways that I can say this. These are both true. Miss Sorensen has 200% more cats than she started with, and Miss Sorensen's cat collection is now 300% of her starting collection. Both of these say the same thing even though they have different numbers. Let's verify that this one right here is true. We know that the 200% more than, right, that's our new minus old over old formula. So that's going to be my new, which is going to be 15, minus my old, which is 5, divided by my old. Okay, well that gives me 10 in the numerator, divided by 5 is 2. And then of course we have to multiply by 100 or move our decimal 2 places, and that gives us 200%. So you know how to do this first one. That's just new minus old over old. And we've actually talked about the second one before. When we talked about percent of, that basically means multiplication. So whenever you see percent of, you should think multiplication. So in other words, how do we write 300% as a decimal? Well, if we have 300%, and I move my decimal over to the left because I'm going from a percent to a decimal, that changes this to being 3.0, meaning 3.0 times my old equals, well, what's 3 times 5? Well, that's 15. So this is true as well. We're basically saying 300% of my old equals my new. So I'll write that down, the percent of my old equals new. I'm not crazy about this formula, but just think you're taking your percentage right here, you're multiplying it by what you're doing 300% of her starting collection, and that gives me that new value, or what we've got now, 15. So here's a formula. You're going to want to pause this video and write this down, this right here. So go ahead and do that and then come back to me. All right, welcome back. So the first one says if the compared value is p% more than the reference value, then we can actually easily convert it into being percent of by just taking that percent more than, whatever number it says here, and adding 100 to it. So for example, let's look at this one. We have 200% more, or more than. So that means I actually have 200% more, or more than is fine. So what's my p in this problem? Well, it's pretty obvious, it's 200. So then I just go into my formula, and instead of writing a p here, I'm going to write 200. And now I have 100 plus 200. Well, that's obviously equal to 300%. And then I drop down the of. And that's how I convert from more, or more than, to percent of. So I just found out that it's percent of would be 300% of. Now there's also a formula when it comes to percent less than, and I find this one a little bit harder, but if it gives you less than being a certain number, let's say it says 75% less than, you would take that 75 and put it here, and you'd have 25% of. So that's how you convert back and forth. We're definitely going to do a few examples, and then we will be done. All right, moving forward. A Lexus costs $40,000 and a Mercedes costs $50,000. Therefore, a Lexus costs 20% less than the Mercedes. Therefore, a Lexus is 80% the cost of Mercedes. I've basically given you the answer here, but I'm going to confirm that this is true. Let's go ahead and let's confirm that it is 20% less than. As soon as you see more than or less than when there's a percent involved, this is going to be the relative formula, that new minus old over old. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take 40,000 minus 50,000 divide by 50,000. So this is going to give me negative 10,000 over 50,000. That actually gives me a negative 0.2. And if I convert that into a decimal, that's going to be a negative 20%. Right? I'm taking this and going bloop, bloop, putting a 0 here, and I get 20%. And it is negative, and that's where the less than. So I just confirmed that if I have a 40,000 Lexus and a 50,000 Mercedes, I just confirmed that it is in fact 20% less than the Mercedes. All right. So remember, just from what I just did there, that the less than or the more than comes from this formula right here. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's check that if we have 20% less than, that it is in fact 80% of. Okay, well, if it's 20% less than, I go up to this formula right here and I say 20% less than, which means my P is equal to 20. So now I take that P and I plug it in right here. And now I have 100 minus 20, which is clearly 80% of. So again, this is the same fact, just stated two different ways. You could either say a Lexus costs 20% less than the Mercedes, or you could say that the Lexus is 80% of the Mercedes. And make sure you'd have the smaller thing here, because the Lexus being 80% of something would mean that it is smaller. If you had the Mercedes first, it would have to say something like the Mercedes is 120%, something over 100%. All right, you might want to pause this video and try this problem on your own, and then we'll come back and do it together. All right, here we go. Carol earns 50% more than William. What percent of William's salary does Carol make? How many times larger is her income than his? Okay, we are given 50% more than, which means I know my P is 50. So I go and I take my P is equal to 50. I'm going to bring that over here, and I'm going to put in the 50. So that means William's salary is, and 100 plus 50 gives me 150%, right, the of Carol's salary. Now the next question says, how many times larger is her income than his? Well, you should remember that percent of, if we go back to the very first slide here, is multiplication. So remember, that would be 300% of would be 3.0 times my original cat collection. So going back here, it's going to be, how do I convert 150%? Well, I bring that decimal over 2, and I get William's salary is 1.5 times larger. Or you could say, yeah, 1.5 times, right? That's implying multiplication. So let me just finish this up. This is William's salary is 1.5 times larger than Carol's. Oop, yeah, than Carol's. Oh shoot, I screwed this up, didn't I? Who's the wealthier person here? Should be the opposite, right? So it should be Carol's salary, Williams. I think that's a really important mistake I made. I'm not just saying that to cover my butt here. You got to make sure it's in the right direction. Here, Carol has more money than William, is making more than William. So I had to have Carol's salary being first 150% of. All right, now this is the opposite direction. A store is having a 25% off sale. How does an item's sale price compare to its original price? So this is giving you 25% off. I would actually say that's 25% less than. So I guess this isn't going the opposite direction. It's the same direction. It's just that language that was really kind of confusing, which is true for these problems. So we have 25% less than, which means I'm here. And so then I'm going to take that 25 and I'm going to go put it right here. It's going to be 100 minus 25, and that gives me 75% of. So how does an item's sale price compare to its original price? So the sale price is 75% of its original. And that makes total sense, right? So we'd have basically 0.75 times the original would give us the sale price. That makes total sense. And you don't need to write that last part down. I was just kind of checking that our answer made sense. If retail prices are 25% more than wholesale prices, create an equation that solves for the wholesale price with respect to the retail price. Well, first of all, a wholesale price is what stores buy things for, and then they boost up the price so that they can make money, and that is called the retail price, what you pay. So this is what the store pays for the price of the good, and this is what you pay. And this should be bigger. Okay, this is going to be bigger, and this is going to be smaller. Okay, so first of all, 25% more than, I'm going to put that right here. And then that means I'm going to have that. So I'm going to get that 100 plus 25 gives me 125. So the retail price is going to be more expensive. So the retail price is 125% of the wholesale price. And I'm going to emphasize again that the retail price is higher, bigger, so that's why it comes first, because this number is greater than 100%. If it was less than 100%, then you should have the smaller value first, because it's basically getting smaller. Okay, well, this is not an equation, but we can say it is because we know it's 1.25 times. So the retail price, so retail is going to be equal to, that's what that is. So the retail is going to be equal to 1.25 of the wholesale price, so times wholesale. And this makes a lot of sense, that something that you pay for in the store is going to be 1.25 times what the store paid for it. I believe that's the last slide. Yes, it is. All right, folks. Whoa, I'm just pushing buttons now. All right. Thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Just remember, drink lots of water. Bye-bye now.